In a world teeming with aspiring entrepreneurs and ambitious professionals, unlocking the secrets to success has become an irresistible pursuit. Many have sought guidance from the most accomplished business magnates, hoping to unveil the key ingredients that propel them to the zenith of triumph. Drawing from the wellspring of their wisdom, we present to you 10 tips to become successful, advice from the most successful businessmen. Within these transformative words lies a roadmap crafted by visionaries who have shaped industries, disrupted norms, and conquered unimaginable challenges. Their insights transcend conventional notions, offering a fresh perspective that challenges the status quo. Each tip is a testament to the tenacity, audacity, and unwavering determination that defines these luminaries. Embark on this transformative journey as we unravel the principles that have guided these extraordinary individuals. Let's begin. Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Workweek.
Optimism has a place, but I think even more so for the first-time entrepreneur, you need to be pragmatically pessimistic. What I mean by that is, you need to define all of the worst-case scenarios in terms of financial loss, time loss, etc. Look at what you will learn if that happens, and accept and come to terms with that before you ever start. If you don't do that, and you go straight into battling the world, trying to conquer the world with rose-colored glasses on, the first time you hit a major hiccup, you're going to become really demoralized and you will quit.
Steve Jobs, Apple.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it, and you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up, being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society, and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit because they're sane, right? Who would want to put up with this stuff if you don't love it? So it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of worrying constantly. And if you don't love it, you're going to fail. So you got to love it. You got to have passion.
Pierre Amadiar, eBay.
So just go and do it. Try, learn from it. You'll fail at some things. That's a learning experience that you need so that you can take that on to the next experience. And don't let people who you may respect and who you believe know what they're talking about, don't let them tell you it can't be done. Because often they will tell you it can't be done, and it's just because they don't have the courage to try it.
BizStore, Twitter.
Life, and I talk about this in the book, but I really found the one key piece of advice, if I were to only offer one piece of advice to young people who are thinking of starting a company or dropping out of school or anything, really, is you have to have an emotional investment in what you're doing. If you don't love what you're doing, failure is pretty much guaranteed. Success is not guaranteed by any means, but failure is much more likely if you don't love what you're doing.
Guy Kawasaki, Apple.
Changing your mind is a sign of intelligence. Many people believe that changing your mind is a sign of stupidity because you got it wrong. And you don't want to admit that you're wrong. You want to hide the fact that you're wrong. You don't want to hold it out that you had to change your mind. Steve Jobs taught me exactly the opposite. This is a press release from June 11th, 2007. This is when iPhone was introduced. Our innovative approach using Web 2.0 based standards lets developers create amazing new applications while keeping the iPhone secure and reliable. June 11th, 2007, the introduction of the iPhone. Steve Jobs is telling you why there can be no third-party apps for an iPhone. If you want to do something that adds functionality to an iPhone, you have to have a Safari plugin. It's because we're doing you a favor. We want you to have a phone that is secure and reliable. One could logically ask at that point, well, Steve, why do you say that the phone has to be secure and reliable, but the computer doesn't? Why is it that there are third-party apps for the computer? Never mind. Don't ask. A year later, Apple press release. Apple executives to showcase Mac OS X Leopard and OS X iPhone development platforms at Worldwide Developers Conference 2008 keynote. 1 year later, Steve Jobs has gone from, we are going to allow no third-party apps for the iPhone, to, we now have an iPhone development platform. May there be many, many different kind of apps, ranging from measuring your heart rate to I fart, whatever it takes, right? This is a 180-degree reversal. Steve Jobs said, closed system. Steve Jobs said, open system. 12 months later. Changing your mind is a sign of intelligence. And just FYI, when Steve Jobs in 2007 said that the iPhone had to be closed so that you would have a secure and safe phone, all the experts said, my God, Steve is right. You have to have a really secure and protected phone. 12 months later, Steve opens up the phone, and guess what the experts say? My God, Steve is right. You want an open system so you can have an app for that.
Steve Wozniak, Apple.
I was so stunned because I have very dramatic memories of where I was when the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan, when I heard that JFK had been shot, and I'll never get this memory out of my head, just where I was, just getting a phone call from a reporter. And they just said, have you heard the news? And I instantly knew what that meant. And that was just a total shock. Like, what do you say? It's like the world lost a John Lennon. I mean, Steve was clearly the most outstanding business thinker, and almost everybody who's high up in the technology business recognized that somehow he had the ability to think out new ways of doing things, not just ways to improve what we have, do a better version of something, but do it in a totally different way that the world would swing towards. And then I think back to just all the times we had together, very, very good times that you have when you're young, and playing around with the systems and little misbehavior and doing interesting things. And then he was always thinking about certain technology, the early products that got developed, the building parts, what those might lead to in our future. And he was always pushing me as an engineer. Could you possibly add this someday? Could you possibly add that someday? Yes, I could, thinking, no, it's way, way off. But eventually we all did. We went into the garage when we were two young people with no money. You have to work out of your home. We had jobs on the side. We had nobody that could loan us money. We had no business experience. We're like a million young people who are so excited about the future they might have someday in business, making something just out of their ideas. That's what we were.
Mark Cuban, broadcast.
For somebody aspiring to, take things to the next level or to even surpass their wildest dreams, there's always going to have to be an element of luck. But I think more important is putting yourself in a business that can be ubiquitous, that really doesn't have limits. Because otherwise, there's always going to be a grind to it. But if the business, if it can't be something that you can visualize every business using or every consumer using, it's going to be tough to scale to be big enough or to have the perceived value.
Simon Sinek, start with why.
This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist?
Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn.
One of the things I advise entrepreneurs to do is when you have an idea, a classic entrepreneurial impulse is to hold the idea close to you and not go tell people because, the idea is so special.
Right.
That's almost always a mistake. Go talk to
Why is that a mistake? Yeah.
It's a mistake because your actual real competitive advantage is not that you have this idea that you have locked away in your closet, which may or may not be accurate and you have no idea which it is. Your actual competitive advantage is if you're assembling the intelligence around, does this idea work? What is the right team? What is the right learnings? And we're essentially...
Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX.
I think certainly being focused on something that you're confident will have high value to someone else, and just being really rigorous in making that assessment, because people tend to, a natural human tendency is wishful thinking, So a challenge for entrepreneurs is to say, well, what's the difference between really believing in your ideals and sticking to them versus pursuing some unrealistic dream that doesn't actually have merit? And that is a really difficult thing to tell. Can you tell the difference between those two things?
Right.
You know? So you need to be sort of very rigorous in your self-analysis. I think certainly extremely tenacious, and then just work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in, 80 to 100-hour weeks every week.
Thank you for joining on this enlightening exploration of the 10 transformative tips to become successful, inspired by the wisdom of the most successful businessman. Remember, success is not a destination, but a lifelong journey filled with learning, growth, and perseverance. If you found this information valuable, we encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to our channel to continue receiving empowering content that will guide you towards achieving your goals. Together, let's unlock our full potential and create a future brimming with success and fulfillment.